Hello and welcome to the Run Testers. My name's Nick and this is our full review of the Puma Magnify Nitro 3. The Magnify Nitro 3 is a cushioned daily trainer that sits in the Puma lineup above the Velocity Nitro 4, which is a slightly cheaper and slightly less cushioned daily trainer. There's also the Puma Mag Max Nitro, which is above the Magnify Nitro 3, I guess, in the pecking order, with more of almost a super trainer vibe to it. But the Magnify Nitro 3 is a very good shoe. It's one that I've really enjoyed testing, and it's pretty good value as well in the UK. It cost £130, $160 in the US, so it's more in line with cushioned daily trainers of this ilk over there. It weighs in at 280 grams or 9.9 ounces in a UK size 9. That's a US 10. You've got a stack height of 40 millimeters at the heel, 30 at the forefoot for a 10 millimeter drop. Comes design of the shoe. You've got quite an interesting upper. It's an engineered mesh, but it feels like quite a stretchy, almost knit material around the front of the shoe. And in general, it's quite a thick upper all round. Like the tongue isn't super padded, but the actual material around the toe box feels quite thick to me. And it's not the coolest upper, I would say. You've got a bit of padding around the heel and an internal heel counter, but actually there's not too much structure and padding at the back of the shoe there compared to lots of other shoes in this category, especially things from like the Brooks Ghost or Brooks Glycerin would have a bit more going on back there than the Puma. A little bit of power tape as well to add some structure around the midfoot. Then you've got a nitro foam midsole. Now, it's all made of nitro foam. Nitro foam is a term that can mean a lot of different things. Now, on the first run video, lots of comments saying this is a Puma midsole foam, and I've seen that elsewhere on the internet as well. That's not 100% confirmed by Puma, but Puma seems to be what people believe this foam is. Almost doesn't really matter what the foam is because it matters how it feels, and it is a springy, soft material that delivers a very nice ride during my testing at least. Then you've got a Puma grip outsole, good coverage on the forefoot and heel. You've got a fair bit of exposed foam there, but nothing in key impact areas, and it's a very good rubber that grips well really in all conditions. Comes the fit of the Magnify Nitro 3. I've got my normal size here, which is a UK 9, US 10. It's probably a little bit long for me, I would say. I'm someone who's a little bit in between sizes, so this is maybe at the larger end of my size, and I could potentially go half a size down, but do think it does run true to size. And it's got a pretty comfortable fit for me around the toes and the heel, and around the midfoot for me. But I do have a pretty narrow foot, and I do think the Magnify Nitro 3 is a shoe that does run pretty narrow. I can feel the upper on each side of my foot there. You've also got a fair bit of tapering around the midsole there as well, so your foot might hang a little bit over. If you've got a wide foot, it might feel a little bit constrictive. Don't think there are wide sizes or wide versions of this shoe available on the Puma website at the moment, to my knowledge anyway. So yeah, definitely something to look out for if you do have a wide foot. As a narrow-footed runner, I was perfectly happy with the fit of it all round, and although it maybe is a little bit too long for me and I could go half size down, I do think it is a true to size shoe and you should stick to your normal running shoe size. I'm just someone who's a little bit in between sizes. So I've run 60 kilometers in the Puma Magnify Nitro 3, using it for a mix of training runs. I've done a lot of running in it over the space of about a week and a half because I've really enjoyed using it. I'm doing a lot of miles at the moment, so I had a lot of opportunity to test it. Used it mostly for pretty easy runs. I've done a longish run in it. I've done a progression run in it, moving from easy to steady pace and some strides as well. And all round, I've really enjoyed my experience in the Puma Magnify Nitro 3. I think this is a really good cushioned daily trainer that gives you a lot of support, comfort underfoot, but has quite an energetic and lively ride that does make it a little bit more versatile if you're looking at it for faster runs, but in general just a more fun shoe to run in at any pace than a lot of the similar shoes in its bracket out there. Feels a bit like the older models of the Triumph, like before it became the very big cushion shoe that it is these days, that were always, renowned for being pretty versatile cushion daily trainers. So like shoes that could handle faster runs, like I even used to race in the early models of the Triumph. And I think the Magnify Nitro 3 definitely has that vibe to it. It'll be a really good all-rounder for beginners or runners who generally just like to use one shoe and want a more cushion shoe to be that one shoe. You can use it for your interval sessions and tempo runs and that kind of thing, or even race day, but it's primarily focused on comfort, and it does do a really good job of that. You've got a very nice midsole foam here in terms of comfort, but also one that has a little bit more dynamism and life to it if you are going to try and run at faster paces. And certainly for me, the Nitro foam midsole is where this shoe stands out compared to the other shoes in its bracket. And I think this is an area where Puma is pushing the envelope a little bit, I would say. Like Puma's had a really good year, I think, all round, and they've been pretty innovative in shoes like the Puma Fast R3 racing shoe, which was crazy light, really aggressive rocker extended plate, and showed a lot of innovation. But I think perhaps the even more important area of the market where they are pushing things on a bit is in these daily trainers, where they are putting in really good foams at really good prices, especially in the UK. Like the Puma Velocity Nitro 4, I think, has an aliphatic TPU midsole foam, very lively, springy foam there. Magnify Nitro 3, we think, has a full PIBA midsole foam, again at a good price. And lots of brands aren't really doing this. Adidas is doing it a little bit with the Evo SL, its Light Strike Pro midsole, but lots of brands are still kind of reserving these foams or using them in a single layer, or putting the price very high when they start to use these foams. And Puma's come out here and put a really good foam in the Magnify Nitro 3, which is a cushion daily trainer at around the right price for a cushion daily trainer. It's not like they've immediately added 30 quid to the price because it's got this foam, and it's performing really well. And I hope that we'll see other brands do the same kind of thing, because we're now quite far into the super foam and super shoe era, and I do think we could be seeing some more of these PIBA foams, aliphatic TPU foams being used on daily trainers, and they feel really good when brands do use them. So yeah, you do get a really nice comfortable feeling underfoot. Like I say, you snap through onto the forefoot and get a nice bouncy ride here. Now the 10mm drop is something that perturbs a lot of runners, I would say. Like, I'm not a big warrior about drop in general. I probably, on instinct would prefer to go for something like a 5 to 8mm shoe, but I would say the Magnify Nitro 3 doesn't really run like a classic 10mm shoe. Like if you hear of a high drop shoe, for me, it's shoes like the Ghost and the Pegasus that really do kind of snap through. And as a heel striker, sometimes that results in a bit of forefoot discomfort for me over time, and it's not the smoothest ride. You do have a pretty smooth ride with the Magnify Nitro 3, and then long runs I've had no forefoot discomfort. There's still a lot of foam under the forefoot, and you are getting a really nice spring to that foam that doesn't go away over the course for longer, and it's not like it bottoms out or anything like that. So you are really getting a great all-round package here, I think, with the upper not being the best, maybe actually, let's say that. The upper's not maybe the best. It's a bit hot, it's a bit narrow. I didn't mind it at all, but some runners will certainly be put off by that. Great midsole and a fantastic outsole as well. That's grips really well and is very durable. The other thing that might put a few runners off, along with maybe the narrowness and the upper, is it's not the most stable shoe. And in this area, lots of brands are making big cushion daily trainers that have a very wide base, lots of stability naturally. This is not a stable neutral shoe, I would say. This is a classic neutral shoe, and if you are in need of support on your medial side, you probably won't get it so much from the Magnify Nitro 3 than you will from other neutral shoes around it. Things like the Nova Blast or the Gel Nimbus or the Triumph from Saucony, the new versions that is, are all very wide and naturally very stable, and that's not really the case with the Magnify Nitro 3. So the Magnify Nitro 3 is a really good shoe. It's one that undercuts a lot of its rivals on price and then outperforms them as well. Got a great foam in the midsole, great outsole. Upper's not so good, but it's fine for me. And overall, you've got a really good cushion daily trainer here that can handle a range of runs really well and will suit lots of different runners really well. Like, there are a few things that might put people off, like I say in the run test. Some people just don't want that 10mm drop, although I would say it doesn't feel like that kind of 10mm drop. It feels quite similar to something like the Nova Blast, which is an 8mm drop, and the narrowness in the upper obviously will put some people off, and the relative lack of stability compared to a lot of its counterparts. But if you are just looking for a pretty simple but impressive and effective cushion daily trainer, the Magnify Nitro 3 would definitely be one I'd be checking out. Probably the most important comparison would be to the Velocity Nitro 4, also in the Puma range, also a very impressive cushion daily trainer at a reasonable price. You have got the lower stack on the Puma Velocity Nitro 4, which is 4mm lower at the heel and forefoot than the Magnify, so it's a little bit less cushioned. I think you've got a better upper on the Velocity Nitro 4, but in general, I don't tend to go for the most cushioned shoes. I don't really need as much cushioning, I think, as I get on the Magnify Nitro 3, so I'd probably go for the Velocity Nitro 4 because it performs very well as an easy day shoe for me, and then it's a bit lighter, and I like that if I'm going to use it for anything else, or even just for easy runs, and it's a bit cheaper. So I probably prefer the Velocity Nitro 4, but you're going to get, I think, a pretty similar performer all around in the Magnify with a bit more cushioning, and some people will value that enough to spend the extra you need to get this shoe. I will get to a more direct comparison between the two shoes in time, but yeah, my instinct is to go for the Velocity Nitro 4, but I'd probably recommend the Magnify Nitro 3 to lots of people who I know prefer a slightly more cushioned ride. I think when you're comparing the Magnify Nitro 3 to the shoes around it in the marketplace, like, lots of them are just much more cushioned, much more heavy, much more focused on easy runs and protection and stability. The Hurricane 24, the Gel Nimbus, all those kind of shoes are built much more for comfort and don't have the versatility of this shoe, but they will give you a bit more stability and maybe a little bit more cushioniness underfoot, although I think there's plenty here in the Magnify Nitro 3. You could also compare it to the mid-range of shoes, I would say. Things like the Asics Nova Blast 5 would be a strong competitor because it's around the same weight, it's a slightly lower drop shoe, slightly more rockered and wider and more stable, but it doesn't have as good a foam as the Magnify Nitro 3, I would say. I think you are getting more bounce and life out of the Puma than you get from the Nova Blast foam, but it's a pretty effective running shoe all around as well, another really good one. And then you could look at the Ghost and the Pegasus, the other 10mm drop shoes in this category. I just think the Magnify Nitro 3 is a flat out better shoe than those. I think you are just getting a better ride here from the foam in the midsole. You're getting a better outsole as well, and while those are both perfectly good serviceable shoes at the same price, I'd be picking the Magnify Nitro 3 for sure. In the UK it's actually cheaper than those shoes as well, so it would be my pick of that trio for sure. Other good option would be the Hoka Clifton 10, I guess, which is pretty similar to the Nova Blast for me in being a very solid daily trainer that gives you a slightly more rockered, slightly wider platform to run on, and it works very well, pretty versatile. Again, I think you've got a better foam here with the Puma, and I probably prefer it as a cushion daily trainer myself. So there are certainly lots of shoes in this category I think it is a little bit better than, and it is cheaper. Like maybe the Velocity might tickle your fancy a bit more as a slightly more lightweight cushion shoe if you don't need as much cushion underfoot, or the Nova Blast might work if you're not convinced about the stability and the drop on this shoe. But if you don't really have worries about the narrowness of the fit or those other things I mentioned, Magnify Nitro 3 is definitely a shoe worth checking out. That's a review of the Puma Magnify Nitro 3. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, ring the little bell. We'll see you next time.